So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. I wanted to take a quick little look at this, trawling through the annals of Twitter and through the internet today. It's been spuriously linked that FIFA are looking into the Aston Villa's deal of selling Cameron Archer to Southampton. And look, I know that this is not exactly the bastion of truth or the dregs of and more so the dregs of reporting and so on. But Alan Nixon has been known to get some things right in his time. And Alan Nixon has reported today in the Sun, the Irish Sun, or just whatever Sun you get, that Southampton are facing a FIFA probe over their swoop for Cameron Archer. Saints signed a 22-year-old from Aston Villa this week, and but the deal could be ruled a bridge transfer, leading to fines and possible sanctions. Villa initially sold Archer to Sheffield United for 18 million in the summer of 2023, but terms of the deal meant they had to buy him back last month after the Blades were relegated. Moving the same player in and out within a 16-week period is termed a bridge transfer and breaks FIFA rules unless the clubs can come up with an adequate explanation. So there we go. Whenever you read an article in the Sun, always get to paragraph number 3 or paragraph number 4, because there is where the truth is probably explained, or the disclaimer comes. And that's what we have here. So we have a little bit of a disclaimer here. You can't really read it, that says, unless the clubs can come up with an adequate explanation for this. So I just wanted to talk a small bit more about this, because some of you guys might have seen it, and it's more so why FIFA would investigate this more so than it being an Aston Villa / Archer angle. If anybody thinks that I was being disingenuous with regards to the framing of this podcast, I do apologize, but I didn't mean to be. But basically, what is a bridge transfer? I've been reading an awful lot about bridge transfers, and as I said, this came to my attention from Twitter initially, whereby some Saints podcasts were mentioning that this is something that could affect both clubs. I took a look into it, and I went back as far as I could. Well, I went back quite far. 2014 was when bridge transfers were first. Bridge transfer literature, or whatever it is, legislation was brought in by FIFA, and it was to do with some transfers previously between the case study I looked at was transfers between Paris FC and Angers within the French league. Now, also, what I took a look at here is I came to see a little piece here from, and this I thought explained it pretty well. So in case any of you guys are reading this, I want a little bit of a disclaimer and a little bit of a piece on this. It ain't going to be a problem. This isn't a problem for Aston Villa. Aston Villa have cleared this beforehand, before the transfer happened, sending this player. But it just goes to show that there is a rule for bridge transfers. When it's reported in a paper like The Sun, it's made sensationalized. It's been sensationalized to look like Aston Villa and Southampton have potentially broken the rules. And why am I being so kind of being my bonnety about this one is because at the start of the transfer window, when Villa were selling players, everybody was being told, that wasn't a Villa fan, was being told that Villa were doing something wrong here, and they weren't. They were working within the rules as they were explicitly stated, and even the Premier League head has come out and said they've not broken any rules. They've worked within the parameters of the rules. But it grew legs from that point of view, and it can just go to show that once a headline comes out here and says FIFA are investigating, boom, 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 Aston Villa and Southampton over the transfer of Cameron Archer. Don't buy into it. Read the article. Usually get the article, get to paragraph 3 or 4, and you'll probably see some sort of disclaimer in there. And then dig into that. And that's what I did. And I came to this. Article that I liked. And apologies, I can't really see it there. Let me try and see if I can zoom in on this. There we go. So I came to this article and stated 18th March 2020. All right. And it's talking about a specific transfer with regards to this. But I wanted to look into this. So I mentioned that previously in 2014, there was a legislation was proposed with regards to bridge transfers. But then on the 13th of February 2020, FIFA announced its new edition of the regulations on the status of transfers of players that entered into force on the 1st of March 2020. This new version includes important news that will affect future transfer windows of football players. The most important change is the introduction of regulation about the so-called bridge transfers. So they were referenced previously, and then there was kind of heightened legislation popped in at this stage. So this is a matter that FIFA have tried to control in the past years without much success. So what is a bridge transfer? According to its new definition, a bridge transfer has occurred where there are any two consecutive transfers, national or international, of the same player connected to each other and comprising a registration of that player with the middle club to circumvent the application of the relevant regulations or laws and or defraud another person or entity. So essentially, it's a marriage of convenience of two players. So you buy a player and then you immediately try to sell him on again, and you're doing it to maybe circumvent some tax purposes, to circumvent some, as it says there, to defraud or to circumvent any regulations. Sorry, should I say, that are that happen within either the country that you're in or the country that the club you're selling to is in as well. So there's various different reasons why this could happen. So in the same way, it has also been introduced in the new Article 5 BIS in the regulations. The wording of the new legal precept is the following. So this is the wording of what a bridge transfer is. So no club or player should be involved in a bridge transfer. It should be presumed, unless established to the contrary, that if two consecutive transfers, national or international, of the same player occur within a period of 16 weeks, the parties involved in those two transfers have participated in a bridge transfer. So when the Sun report that FIFA are investigating Aston Villa and Southampton being part of a bridge transfer, it's automatically presumed. The presumption is guilt, and it's up to you to bring the mitigating circumstances. In this instance, it's not that difficult to understand what the mitigating circumstances here. Aston Villa had a very different type of contract with Sheffield United, where there was an automatic buyback of the player. He comes back to us. We still think that he isn't of the level that's needed, and we want him to go out, and we resell him again. It's that simple. But the sensational headline that's happened in the Sun gets eyes and ears and whatever else needs to be on that article for people to look at it. Okay, so this is more of a kind of a media literacy piece that or how I look at me at articles and how I treat media literacy for myself, if you will. So the FIFA Disciplinary Committee, in accordance with the FIFA Disciplinary Code, will impose sanctions on any party subject to the FIFA statutes and regulations involved in a bridge transfer. As we can notice, in order to determine an effective prohibition, there is a reversal of the burden of proof, which has included a presumption that if a player is transferred 2 times nationally or internationally within a period of 6 weeks, said transfer would be considered as a bridge transfer. So it's immediately, so the burden of proof has been turned around there. So usually in any cases, the burden of proof is on the prosecution to prove that the defendant has done ill. In this instance, the way the law is written, the burden of proof is on the defendant to prove that they haven't done ill. So it's guilty until proven innocent. And in this instance, Villa can do it. So the kernel of truth in the reporting previously that this has been investigated is true, but it's very simple. Villa would have gotten out ahead of this and said, we're fully aware of the bridge transfer rules within 16 weeks. We're selling on this player. It's come back to us and hasn't been with the club for 16 weeks. Here are the mitigating circumstances. We are now selling this player on again. But when they do sell on that player again, it would automatically trigger an investigation. It has to, by the law of the game. It absolutely has to do that. So when you're reading articles about this stuff, please look into it and look into the detail of stuff, is what I'm saying here, because the sensationalistic headline will probably catch people, and it ain't an issue here. It for me, it just cannot be an issue here. And even on the Southampton side, the reporting, this isn't an issue either. So also just wanted to highlight this as well, because there's also talks about people when they were talking about the Archer deal about can he be registered with 3 clubs within over the course of the season. So, according to the Article 5, Paragraph 4 of the regulations, players may be registered with a maximum of 3 clubs during a season. And during this period, the player is only eligible to play official matches for 2 clubs. So, you can be registered for 3 clubs. You can only play official games for 2 clubs. So, once you play for either of your first 2 clubs in official games, you are ineligible to be registered or to play for the 3rd club during the course of that year. So it goes on here to say the main consequence of this is that the bridge transfers were in a legal vacuum until the entry into force of the new edition, since there was no specific prohibition for these transfers in the previous FIFA regulations. So what that means is they've clarified the law with regards to what bridge transfers are in the 2020 edition of the rule itself. So this has been a bit of a different podcast, and I hope I don't have to come more and more often with regards to these podcasts. But having to delve into PSR and try and understand it, which I still don't understand it, and thank God for Matt Burton and a couple of the other guys, Kieran Maguire, that have figured all that out. Football is becoming more and more a game of bylaws and laws, like we've just seen there, just trying to go down through it. And the reporting of the litigation of the game of football is not fun. We've seen Aston Villa go out and have a very, very good win yesterday against West Ham. And that's the beauty of the game of football. And then you wake up on a Sunday and you see this spurious headline, albeit in what I would definitely, in my opinion, would say is a non-reputable newspaper, The Sun. And some people might look at that and go, "Oh my God, what have Aston Villa and Southampton done?" Fans of other teams might look at it and go, "Oh God, you guys were up to more dodgy dealings." But when you look into it, this was automatically triggered by the FIFA bylaw that we have here. Villa and Southampton then have an opportunity to prove their innocence, which they would have done. And I would imagine that they've squared this off prior to this happening anyway, because they would have known about this rule. And therefore, the whole headline becomes mute. And it's only there just to stir up conversation, stir up clicks, stir up anxiety, angst, potential, ill will towards Southampton, Aston Villa, because Aston Villa were probably an easy target given the question marks that were labelled at them at the start of the season, when there was no need to label questions at them because they were just following the rules with regard to PSR. I don't know if this has been any way helpful for anyone. Essentially, if anybody comes to you and says Villa and Southampton broke the rules with regards to Cameron Archer, you can say it's nonsense because there are mitigating circumstances. And with that, I'm going to leave you. Thanks very much, everybody, for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.